All right, let's talk about debt. For most of us, that word just feels heavy, right? It's stressful, it's something to avoid. I mean, we've been told our entire lives that debt is the enemy. But what if that's only half the story? What if the very thing you've been taught to fear is actually one of the most powerful tools for building serious wealth? Well, that's what we're going to break down today. How the wealthy really think about borrowing money. And this, right here, gets to the heart of it. Look, the real difference between the rich and everyone else isn't just about income, it's about leverage. While most people are busy trying to pay cash for everything and stay out of debt, the wealthy have learned how to weaponize it. They use it as a tool to control more assets, to accelerate time, and to build wealth way, way faster than you ever could by just saving. So you have to understand, not all debt is created equal. There's a fork in the road, and it creates two totally different kinds of borrowers. You've got the desperate borrower, who takes on debt to consume, the new car, the fancy vacation, the lifestyle upgrade. With every single payment they make, their financial world gets a little bit smaller. But then you have the strategic borrower. They borrow to control assets, things that actually make money. And for them, every loan they take on makes their financial world bigger. And that brings us to the biggest lie we've all been sold about money, that all debt is bad. That one simple idea, that one belief, is what keeps millions of people trapped. It locks them out of what is, without a doubt, the most powerful tool in the entire financial system. You've got to wrap your head around this. Our financial system, well, it wasn't built for employees, it was built for owners. The person who owns the real estate, the person who owns the business, they're the ones who win in this game. So the big question is, how do you get from the employee side over to the owner side? Well, strategic loans, that's the bridge. So how do you make sure you're using this tool correctly? It all starts with one single, unbreakable rule: your intention. The why behind the loan is everything. It's what decides whether debt will make you rich or completely ruin you. It's all about acquisition over ego. And ego, debt. This is the trap. This is where almost everybody goes wrong. It's borrowing money for stuff that looks cool and impresses other people, but drops in value like a rock. We're talking luxury cars, the latest gadgets, you name it. Yeah, it feels good for a minute, but it is pure financial poison that just quietly drains your bank account month after month. But on the flip side, you've got acquisition debt. This is the complete opposite. This is a loan you take to get control of an asset that produces real, measurable, recurring value. Think a rental property, a small business, anything that puts cash back in your pocket. This isn't poison. This is rocket fuel. It's powerful financial leverage. Let's make this super clear. Let's say person A borrows 50 grand for a shiny new luxury car. So who pays for that loan? Their salary does, every single month. The result? Their wealth is being drained. Now look at person B. Borrows the exact same 50 grand, but uses it for a down payment on a rental property. Now who pays for their loan? The tenant's rent check does. The result? They're building wealth. Same debt, same amount of money, completely different worlds. Okay, but here's the reality check. Just because you're borrowing for an asset doesn't automatically make you safe. Leverage is an incredible power, for sure, but over-leverage, that leads to collapse. And the only thing standing between those two outcomes is discipline. You have to burn this idea into your brain. Leverage is an amplifier. It magnifies everything, the good and the bad. The same force that can 10x your returns can also 10x your collapse. You see, leverage doesn't make a bad decision good, it makes a bad decision a catastrophe. If you're reckless, it will destroy you. But if you're calculated, it will absolutely elevate you. So how do you stay on the right side of that line? You focus on one thing: margin. Margin is just your financial breathing room. It's that little bit of space between what your assets bring in and what your loans cost you. Without that buffer, one tiny problem, a tenant moves out, a pipe bursts, can spiral into a disaster. And panic kills logic. Margin is your anti-panic button. So here are 3 simple rules to live by. First, build up your cash reserves. Have at least 6 months of payments just sitting in the bank before you even think about this stuff. Second, be conservative. Just because the bank says you can borrow $1 million doesn't mean you should. And third, and this is huge, focus on cash flow. Cash flow is what lets you survive. Appreciation is just a nice bonus if it happens. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about the numbers for a second, because this isn't about wishful thinking. Using debt strategically is really just about engineering wealth with some basic math. And honestly, the math is way simpler than you'd think. It all boils down to this one simple formula. You take what your asset earns, that's the yield, and you subtract what your debt costs. That little difference is called the spread. If that number is positive, congratulations, you're building wealth. If it's negative, you are literally paying the bank for the privilege of losing money. That's it. This one number is everything. So here's what a healthy spread actually looks like. Imagine your asset, say that rental property, is giving you a 12% return every year, and the loan you used to buy it costs you 6% in interest. That 6% gap in the middle, that's pure profit. And the best part? You're making it with the bank's money. That is the engine of wealth.
And you know what? There's a secret weapon that's constantly working in your favor here, and it's called inflation. When you lock in a loan with a fixed rate, your payment never changes. But over time, inflation makes money worth less. So every single year, you're paying back that loan with cheaper and cheaper dollars. Your debt is literally getting lighter all by itself.
So we've got the rules, we've got the math, but none of it is going to work without the final, most important piece of the puzzle. And that is a fundamental psychological shift from thinking like a consumer to thinking like an owner. And you know, it really just boils down to one simple question. The question you ask yourself before you make any big financial move. This one question is what separates the people who build wealth from those who just stay stuck. So what is it? Here it is. The consumer always asks, what's the monthly payment? Or can I afford this each month? Their entire focus is on the expense. But the investor, they ask a totally different question. They ask, what does this asset return annually? Their focus is 100% on performance, on profit. That one little mental flip, it changes the entire game. So what does this owner's mindset look like in real life? Well, you stop seeing banks as predators, and you start seeing them as fuel stations for your wealth engine. You use leverage to compress decades of work into just a few years. You focus on building cash-flowing machines. You stop caring about looking wealthy and start caring about owning things. And you totally detach your ego from the stuff you buy. So I'll just leave you with this final thought. We have all been trained to fear debt our entire lives. But what if the real problem isn't the debt itself? What if the real trap has always been just a lack of education on how to use it as a tool? Because mastering this doesn't just change your finances. It changes the rules of the entire game you're playing.